Let's talk about contractors from a real estate investor perspective. Now, I'll break those contractors down in three different tiers. Basically, you got your top tier, which is the awesome company. Basically, how do you find them? They're super easy to find. Go open up Yelp, type in plumbing, type in HVAC, any kind of trade. Just rank them by reviews. There's a lot of companies that probably have like a 5-star or 4.5-star review. They're very professional. They will come on time. They all have trucks with logos. They have T-shirts with logos, and they'll do everything perfect. They won't have you running to the Home Depot buying stuff. They'll bring everything. They know how to do everything. They'll pull all the permits. They'll show up on time, and basically they're not starved for cash. You can pay by credit card or pay online, or some of them even have this option where they have a deal with the bank where the bank pays them, and you have an installment agreement with the bank, so you don't have to pay all at once. So everything is good with them, and they do top A-class work. The only issue with them is price. Now, and price is not as in terms of it offends me or I don't want somebody making a good amount of money. Like I personally, like anybody that works with me or that I hire, I want them to make good money. Like it doesn't offend me that you make $1,000 a day, working for me or anything like that. I'd love you to pay more. The only problem is when you're renting real estate, or when you're flipping real estate or anything like that, basically you just can't afford to pay those people that because it actually makes total sense, because anybody without any kind of skill can just buy a distressed property or just buy a piece of property off the MLS, off of Zillow, and Google some contractors, Yelp them, and have them come up, give you super high bids, get everything done without any hassle, and boom, you put on the market, sell for a profit, or you rent it for a profit. And yeah, that's not gonna work, because usually you can't sell it, you can't buy a property that low that you can afford such expensive contractors, or you can't rent a property that high, if you spend all that much money. I mean, basically these people are for well-to-do homeowners who basically this is their house. They don't really care about the budget. They're going to live in this house forever, and they want everything nice, and they make a lot of money. So they're not really for real estate investors. There are some people that are some investments that would use them, but basically they're either some kind of pension funds or just large pools of money that get super insanely low interest rate from the government or something like that. Basically, I have like a 30 or 50 or 60 year horizon on this real estate, so it doesn't really matter if they paid $10,000 extra for like the HVAC or anything like that, because their money is so cheap, and they have so much money, and they do everything by the book. But basically for for beginning investors, basically that's not going to work out for people like me, right? So moving on, let's talk about the lowest of the low, the bottom tier, those contractors. I have some experience with these people. I've learned my lesson. I'm currently rehabbing a 3-unit apartment building, and even before that, I hired several contractors. So I have a little bit of knowledge about them. Basically, how do you find these guys? Well, you find them on Craigslist, or they're always, yeah. Let's say there's a website that people come, some handyman will give you bids. You can, and then they'll come by or right away and try to give you a bid. But basically the unfortunate thing is, a lot of them, they're fly by night. You can tell that they really need the money. Maybe they'll have like substance, alcohol, or drug issues. They sobered up for, they probably, on a bender for 3 or 4 or 5 months. They sober up, and they try to find, like, oh, I can do some drywall, I can do some electricity, and then they try to find some work. Or they just have really, really bad time management, or something's really wrong with their life. So yeah, you can put an ad on Craigslist, or they're around. These guys are easy to find. Um, the issue is they'll come over, give you a bid, and basically they'll want half the money up front. You know, for whatever bid they give you, they need like you need to give them half the money because they are really bad with managing money. They have personal issues. You know, they have kids and their electricity at their house is about to get cut off, and they need the money for drugs or something. They can't budget their money, and they need half of the money right away. And I think that's a huge red flag. I mean, I don't know about your experience, but basically all the contractors that are worth hiring, without exception, I haven't had an exception, they basically want to get paid at the end. You buy the materials in the beginning. They don't they don't buy that, but they'll start working and make sure everything's good, you're all squared away. You inspect everything, and then when the job is finished, they'll get paid. It would actually, you try to pay them in front. They're like no, it's fine or whatever, and then we want to make sure everything's okay. But this is a huge red flag that these guys want to get paid half the budget right away. And what I had one guy do, unfortunately, I mean, he'd want half the money right away. He'd start working, wouldn't even get halfway finished with the project, and then have excuses about, oh, his electricity is about to get cut off. So somebody died and he needs money for a funeral, this, blah, 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 this and that. And then he'll need another 25%, then another 15%. And basically, if you don't put, and then, it's emotionally draining because you already have he already started the project and you don't want to give him any more. You want to, hey, you already gave you half. You need to finish this shit before I give you more. But it's like, you already started it. Man, I'm going to lose money because if I get into an argument with you and you quit, I'm going to have to pay somebody else from scratch to start everything over. So they start wrapping you into this commitment to the point where they extracted all the money out of you. They have like 80-90% of the project fee. They're like 25% finished, and they start disappearing. And now it's on you. It's on you to track them down, on you to make multiple calls and to beg them to come by and finish it. That's the situation exactly what you're trying to avoid. So basically, some red flags with these type of people. How do you know? Well, one is, yes, they want half up front. To me, that's a huge red flag. Another one is they can do everything, and you shouldn't let people do everything. They would say, "Oh, can you do electricity? Yeah, sure, that's cool. Could you run these HVAC ducts? Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I do that. You do plumbing. They can do everything, meaning they might be able to do some basic stuff, but anything else, they're gonna fuck it up, and you're gonna have to pay twice to do it. I had a problem with this guy that knew how to do everything. He ran some flex duct in the attic and had some drywall guys do some brand new beautiful drywall over top of it. When the real HVAC installer comes in and puts in the unit, the vents don't blow cold. He didn't do it right. The ducts aren't tight. He's supposed to do like a new rung for every single point. Basically screwed me over. I had to rip out so much brand new drywall and patch it. It just created such a nightmare. It definitely wasn't worth it. I think I'm pretty sure a good skilled handyman, they can do a couple things. Maybe you can do some carpentry and some woodwork and this and that. But hey, man, like if you're a skilled handyman, you don't have to do everything. You can pick what you want to do, what you enjoy to do, what you're good at, and you wouldn't be messing with electricity if you're a carpenter, right? So watch out for that. If the person says, yeah, I can do that, no, you most likely can't. You can't do that. You don't have, Another thing too is also the amount of stuff too. Like, let's say you're talking about remodeling a porch. You say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? And a real handyman would be like, okay, yeah, let me write that down. All right, let me think about how many days is that going to take. Every little request that you ask for, they're going to account for that as far as time. A bullshitter, a con artist, basically, say, oh yeah, you're the boss. Sure, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, everything is no problem. Yeah, that's easy. Because that's not the case. In reality is, even as simple ask you can open up a bottle of worms opening up something, and it create a huge headache, create multiple days of work. So everything that you ask the person to do, should be a serious consideration, and they should really, take a serious look at everything, really consider it before they can give you a realistic budget and a realistic time estimate. Another red flag with them is they're slick talkers. They are very, very, very charismatic. And I can see what would make sense to me. It's, let's say, if you're from Mexico, you're from a different country. Okay, you could be good at a certain trait, but you don't speak English that well. You can ask some basic questions, but your English is rough. But you're just a hard worker. You can get things done. The red flag with these guys are they're American born, they're English speakers, but they're so charismatic to the point where, dude, you're so charismatic. Why aren't you why are you working with your hands? You can make so much more money as a salesman, selling anything, cars, software. You're a charismatic sales guy, right? Why are you out here, saying that you can do some drywall, or you can do some electricity as well? I mean, I got wrapped up like that too. This guy was all this super charismatic, had some tattoos, really cool. It's like, man, I'd love to. He was saying like, yeah, man, he was saying all the right things, all the shit that you want to hear, and that's a red flag. He's like, oh man, yeah, we're gonna be a team, man. You're gonna make so much money flipping these houses. Man, we're gonna be playing golf together when we're 80. We're gonna be reminiscing about all the stuff that we did. Oh man, I'm here for the. No man, I don't care about this little project that I'm here for you for the long term. That type of stuff. Just basically saying what you want to hear. That's just a awful giant red flag. And another one is they're available right away. I mean, I'm sure there's some skilled people that you get them at the right time, they can start right away, but usually not. Usually the person that you want, they already have multiple jobs going. They might already have a full-time job, and it will take a few weeks to a month for them to start. These guys, they're desperate. There's a huge labor shortage. There's always a shortage of good handyman, but somehow, for some reason, their schedule is wide open and they can start today or tomorrow. That's a just giant red flag. And yeah, you definitely want to avoid them, because I mean, these guys, the bottom tier, they could be cheap. But the issue is multiple fold. One is reliability. Like, they can be cheap in the beginning because they quote you a cheap price, but there's always an asterisk with them, and it's really hard to plan or to budget. Because, hey, I asked this one guy, can you do this drywall for my attic? Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, it's gonna be about 60 sheets, so I'll charge you X amount of dollars. You come up there, only half of the attic is done. He's like, hey man, I need the rest of the money. I need to pay, and you're gonna charge you double, it's like, what do you mean double? Like, I just gave you the money to do all the drywall for the third floor. Oh yeah, no, that was for 60 sheets. It's like, no, I asked you I don't care how many sheets. I asked you to do the drywall for the entire floor, and then you gave me a price. Now you're telling me it's gonna be double? It's like, yeah, no, I want to save you money. It's like, well, you're not saving me money. If I would have added up all the money that's going to cost me to hire you, I could have just paid some professional drywallers. That would have been done much faster. The quality would have been much much better. So yes, these people will get you in, rope you in with a low, cheap price. But then once you get started, there's always an issue. There's always a problem. There's always, they need more funds. They need more money. And on top of that, they'll do a shitty job, and you might have to redo it and pay somebody twice. So yeah, and also too, they're nerve-wracking. you don't know if they're going to be showing up. Maybe they'll show up for the first 3 or 4 days on time. Then you start letting your guard down, and then they might not start, they might not show up the next day, and they might disappear for a week, and it's just not worth it. Not worth it. So moving on. The middle tier, the golden zone. The golden zone. This is where you want to be by hiring your contracts. These guys, basically, what I learned, they're a needle in the haystack. They're hard to find. Other real estate investors are not gonna recommend them. They're basically like a secret, and you got to find your own. Now, I would say most of them are already working. They might be working for an apartment company as a maintenance guy, or they already have a couple they have their own thing going on. They already have a few projects going. But basically, they can, if you wait a week or a month or something, they can squeeze you in on the weekends. Their rate is good. They are not perfect. They're not perfect. They might not be a finished carpet. They might not, their attention to detail might not be immaculate. Like if they assemble a kitchen or put some trim together, it's not going to line up 100% perfect like A-tier contractors. But basically, they get the job done. They can do some plumbing. They do plumbing, they do electricity. They'll do the drywall where it looks good. Basically to where you can get the place rentable. These guys are not going to ask for the payment up front. If they quoted you a price and it takes them longer, well, I mean, it's up to you to see them, a little struggling a little bit, and you can tip them. You can give them a little extra, but, they stick to their word. They told you a price. That's what they're going to charge you. Even if it takes them a couple more days or whatever, it's on them. Let that be a lesson for them. Yeah, you might have to pay them. They might, maybe they don't speak English that well. You might have to pay them cash. They could be a little rough around the edges, but hey, man, they get the job done. How do you find them? Well, it's tough. It's tough, but maybe I think probably the best way is, honestly, probably either a recommendation if you ask around, which a lot of real estate investors not going to give it to you, but maybe if you befriend a real estate investor, if you're really cool, or I don't know, if you befriend a person that manages a lot of Airbnbs, because they're not like a true real estate investor to where all the flipping houses, they might be able to give you their contractor that fixes fixes their stuff, or that does some light remodeling. You might be able to find them at Home Depot. Like if you go to a tile store, ask around, they might be able to drop you their name. Unfortunately, probably the easiest way to find them is on somebody else's job site. If you're driving around and you see a house that's being remodeled in a quality way, and the door's open, and some people are going in and out for lunch, this and that, hey, you might be driving around, you might wave at them, say, hey man, are you, you're a contractor here, you doing the plumbing, are you installing the kitchen cabinets? Oh, hey, yeah, that's cool. Oh, are you available later? Get them like that, and then you just exchange numbers. A lot of these guys, they might be so proud of their work, they might actually invite you on the job site right away. Like, hey, oh, you want to see my work? Yeah, I do carpentry. Hey, come on inside. Here, this is what I'm doing right now. Check it out. Yeah. So I hope that was helpful.